Sekeres and Price from Wall Center and a presentation of Audi Downtown Vancouver. Check out ableauctions.ca for industrial equipment this month. A wood shop with late model BSE Nessing point-to-point router and Minimax 10-foot sliding panel saw, or a metal shop with Sidan 120-inch mechanical shear and a Sidan 120-inch mechanical folder. They also have sea containers, 360-foot rock sloughs, hydraulic attachments, dump trucks, flatbed trucks, and a whole lot more. For information on all these auctions, go to ableauctions.ca. That's ableauctions.ca. And it is our pleasure to welcome to the program. He is the head coach of the defending Kelly Cup champion Fort Wayne Komets of the ECHL. You may know his surname. It is Ben Boudreau, son to Coach Bruce Boudreau, here on Sekeres and Price. Hi, Ben. Thanks for making time. Appreciate this.
Guys, any single time I can talk hockey with a few fellow Canucks, I am there.
I was going to say, Ben, there it is, but that just does not work whatsoever, unfortunately.
Not yet, anyways.
No.
So, no, it's kind of cool. We just as a gag gift, me and my old man's buddies back home, we bought those T-shirts. So next time we see him, I think we'll be wearing it out to dinner.
Well, he's encouraging people not to say it here, Ben, but we think he might kind of like it deep down. What do you know? What can you tell us?
You know, I asked the same question because once he got the job in Vancouver, I went on all the socials, kind of followed the topics. It's fun to follow the Canucks. I saw when he was like, "Oh, shut up," after the game when they're walking down the tunnel, and he said it. And I asked his opinion about it, and it wasn't that he doesn't like it, but we talked about this. When you're in a Canadian market and you're not having success, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of negativity. And, I'm sure that's what led to the coaching change. And, the players, they go through it, but they remain through the process. And once you start having success and a new guy comes in, the attention sort of turns from, blaming the players for not producing. And now a new coach comes in and he's getting all the credit. And, it was just simply the fact, but it's the same players going through the process and they're earning the wins. And, it kind of seemed like the spotlight was on my father. And if you know him personally, he's a very selfless guy, and he cares about his players so much that he wanted them to have the attention and he wanted them to have all the accolades. So it wasn't that he hated it was being said. He wanted the attention to go on the guys that were deserving of it.
Boy, the sound of the voice, it just feels like we're talking to your dad, for heaven's sake. We'll talk about the similarity in your approach to coaching here, and I'm guessing you don't worry about your dad a ton. Your dad seems to be able to take care of himself, but did the thought of a Canadian market, did it register with you at all as sort of like, I hope he does okay with them, but I'm going to guess that you don't worry about your dad much.
You know what? I don't. It's just growing up, like hockey, to a lot of people, it's a sport. To us, it's always been a way of life. I was born in Germany because my father was playing over there for the Iserlohn Roosters in 1984. I mean, my brother in Halifax, sister in Toronto, my other brother in Mississippi, and we've always known what the hockey family is, and it's come with it's ups and downs. I mean, we moved to San Francisco. My dad's fired. I mean, a whole bunch of different cities. And so for us, as much as it was a Canadian market, it's another market, and he's always had success. So, if anything was trending in that same direction, we knew that he would be okay and be able to handle himself. So from a family aspect, all you can ever do is just cheer on and support him. And obviously they're having a fun ride, and we all hope it continues.
Great sport, crazy business, Ben. You followed Dad into it. Why?
Oh, just and I've had this question a few times. I never grew up trying to say, well, I want to be a head coach because my father was. But I loved hockey just as much as the next guy being in a hockey family. And I always followed what opportunities were given to me. And as a player, you look at my resume, it's not that sexy looking, but I took an opportunity and followed it. So being cut my first 3 times in my first year pro, and being cut out of training camp my second year, and couple different leagues, and followed up actually losing a championship to Fort Wayne. I got into TV, which is what I went to school for, to report on hockey, and that led to a coaching job at a private academy, and that led to an opportunity to play in France. And then coming home, it's another coaching job. And then the Edmonton Oilers hired me for their ECHL team. And I kept chasing opportunities from one day to the next. And ultimately it led to becoming the head coach of the second longest running minor league franchise in history. And that led to a championship last year. And it's, for me, it's just staying involved in hockey. And I've been lucky enough to find ways to continue to provide a living for me and my family. And it's been a fun ride. So right now I wouldn't give it up for the world. So it's just led me to the position I'm in today.
What was Bruce like as a dad when you were young?
The same kind of guy that you get in the media. Like he's, I think that's pretty surprising. He's very, very amiable. He's very approachable. He's not very serious, and hockey's always been a number one. And like one of the things, like growing up, as a father, it always comes down to who he is. And I was doing my first big presentation as a head coach 2 summers ago for the Roger Neal's presentation, and put a ton of work into it, and getting nervous and everything. And I'm showing my dad the night before my presentation. I got about 45 minutes to get through, and he stops me 90 seconds in. He tells me everything I'm teaching is all wrong. It's all wrong. You can't teach this. You can't say this. And, it wasn't, hey, son, I believe in you. Great job as a hockey coach. He just said what was on his mind. He said, this is wrong D-zone. You can't do this. And it's just who he is. He's, he loves hockey and wants to talk hockey, and it's always led to success. And that's something that we've always had as a bond. So it's been a pretty tight connection growing up.
Do you think you coached, I don't mean approach, because I'm going to guess the approach part is pretty similar, but the actual X's and O's, do you think you coach the same way as your dad?
You know what? It's tough to say. I've never been in that room. I know we've got similar qualities, just as who we are as people. But as far as coaching the same way, I've never been in the same room as he does it. So for me to gauge that type of coaching style, would be difficult. And I don't like to put a label on the style that I coach. I think that's something that you'd probably have to ask one of the players. But if it were to be defined, I'd like to think of myself as a player's coach. And I know he's always been referred to as a player's coach as well.
The closest we've ever come to being in the room while your dad coaches is on HBO's 24/7. And that has opened our eyes, or did open our eyes, to his mastery of the F-bomb. Do you
opened our ears too, Blake?
Do you have that same artistic use of the F-bomb?
Unfortunately, my son's one of his first words, coming out of it. We did my rookie year too. The organization gave us a GoPro to take on the road, and they didn't have any good footage because they had to edit it so much that it didn't make any sense when with all the beeps. So it was, we've got a lot of similarities in that sense, and it, I guess it's natural.
Well, that brings me to the Crystal question then. Like, what does mom think of all this? Ben, what does she think of you guys all involved in coaching, and then maybe some of the salty language as well?
Well, Crystal, and I hate to say this on the air, as much as I love her and been a part of the family, she's my stepmother, but she was our babysitter that started in Fort Wayne. So where she grew up is in Fort Wayne, and we've been a part of the family here for 5 months, since I was 5 years old. So both my mother and Crystal have lived it, and even my mother, being divorced from my father now for almost 30 years, still gets a kick out of it, because she says, my father's never changed. He's the same person that he was in the 70s and 80s that he is in 2022 right now. And Crystal, God bless her, I mean, anybody that knows anyone, to be a hockey wife in this business is one of the toughest things. And that was actually the first piece of advice my dad gave me is, hey, if you're going to get into this business, you have to find a good woman who's going to understand the highs and lows of the games night in and night out, and the travel and the security. You just don't have it. So thankfully, I've found a great wife to be by my side. And already the travels that we've gone through and the ups and downs has been pretty crazy. So we're living almost the same type of stories. And for Crystal and my father, they can relate everything that we're going through because they've lived it before.
So the elephant in the room question, as people are listening to this, is when is this going to happen? Both Boudreaux on the same bench, because hey, if Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. can play on the same team and the Hows and all this, why not father-son coaching on the same bench? You're winning a lot of games at the ECHL level. You won a championship, Kelly Cup, with the Komets, and it's with a K, by the way, folks, unlike the Utica version. Komets with a K. You're kind of like your dad. You just win games here, Ben. So where are the career aspirations, and have you allowed your mind to ever wander to that of you guys being on the same bench?
Well, it's a fun thing to think about. And when my father was let go from Minnesota, he was in Fort Wayne, and I was trying to do everything I could to convince him to jump on the bench with me. Because I said, hey, this might be a once in a lifetime opportunity to, he's a former Comet coach. He's won a championship, at that level. I thought it would be great. And he didn't want to take any distractions away from the game that night. That's just who he is. So we never got to do it, but we talk about it all the time. And I said, you won't hire a more loyal coach, that much for sure. Because if I wasn't loyal, surely it would be tough to find loyalty in this business. But it's something that we talk about, and it's something that's really fun to dream about. And for me, I'm cutting my teeth at this level. I mean, I'm 8 years in a pro hockey, 3 as a head coach. I have experienced success, but if any story is any indication, I mean, you look at my dad, and he got his opportunity at the age of 53, started coaching at the age of 37. I'm 37 now. I mean, I've got 8 years under my belt, and a championship, and that's you gotta kind of grind it when you haven't made the NHL. I don't have American Hockey League games, and you've got to go through that process and really earn your stripes. And so that's something that I'm prepared to go through for a long time here, and work my way up. But if it does happen sooner, and it wants to take place, I mean, send me the papers and I'll show you a signature.
Hey, he's on the list of greatest skaters ever to come out of the ECHL. Do you ever use Alex Burrows, the name or the story at all, Ben, the former Canuck, in messaging to your players?
100%. Like we're going to get guys on NHL contracts down here that think it's so far to climb, and then you just have to have real world experience to show them, like, hey, these are the guys that never quit. These are the guys that never gave up. And I've had the pleasure of coaching some guys. We had Ben Jones on our roster just 2 seasons ago, and he's played in Vegas. And I've coached Josh Curry, who's played in Edmonton. And there's I think we're up to 720 players now in 30 years that have gone on to play from the ECHL into the NHL. And I can't tell you the multitude of coaches as well. And Jason Christie just went from Jacksonville to Buffalo's bench with the assistant coach there last year. So, if you believe and you got a dream, I mean, you don't give up on that dream. I'm sure everybody tells the player that, but it's the same thing that, my dad went through. Is he never thought he'd get the chance, but he never gave up on it. And it's fun to look back now as he approaches his 1,000th game in the NHL.
What would a Stanley Cup mean to the Boudreau family?
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of words to describe it. That's something that you strive to. And I think that's probably a question that only my dad can answer, what it really means to him. But, for me on the outside looking in, I think it would just be validation, a career that's come full circle, that, he's been everywhere and done everything. The only thing he doesn't have to his name is the Stanley Cup. So, you talk about Memorial Cups and junior championships, and a championship at every level he's ever gone to, the East Coast, the American League. And, he's got a coach of the year in the East Coast. He's got coach of the year in the NHL, everything except for the Stanley Cup. And I think that's the one elusive thing that any hockey player growing up in Canada wants to be able to put his name on. And, I'm sure that's still motivation every single day that he gets up. And same thing, hopefully for me, one day I get a chance to be a part of something like that.
Ben, this has been great fun. We wish you all the best with the Komets in Fort Wayne. We're going to call on you again, okay? You can be our Bruce Whisperer, if you don't mind, going forward.
No problem. I told him I was doing I was going on the podcast today, and he said, hey, you got to make sure that, you keep a couple things under lock and key. And I said, don't worry, loose links sink ships. So, or loose lips sink ships. So you gotta pick and choose what kind of information we're delivering. But anytime you guys call, I'd love to talk to you.
Ben, thanks so much.
Have a great night.
What a great storyteller he was.
Yeah, Acorn hasn't fallen far with that one. The enthusiasm, particularly around the game of hockey for coaching, and then, of course, the storytelling and the gift of the gab as well with Ben Boudreau as much as his pops.
They are
Bruce
the only
Boudreau.
father-son to be on the same championship trophy in hockey, both of them winning Kelly Cups. Of course, lifting different versions of the Kelly Cup, because this brings up the 2019 snafu in which the ECHL champion did not return the actual physical trophy. So the ECHL said, okay, I guess we'll make a new one.
I hope they had a good insurance on that trophy, Blake.
Indeed. Josh Krennis would have been able to draw something up for that, I am sure, because that's what they do. They give you a custom-tailored insurance experience. They are the insurance people, and they know how to talk to the insurance providers. And because they are people, not robots, they know how to talk to you as well. It's an experience you haven't had in insurance to date, I can assure you. Give them a try. Talk to Josh and his entire staff at Alteri Insurance and see what they can do for you, whether it's for small business, extended health. They run the gamut of policies, and you'll have your buffet in front of you as to what you want to choose. Again, custom tailored to you. It's at alteri.ca. Alteri Insurance is changing the conversation.